Just 10 months into his second term, as President Donald Trump is already musing about potentially running for a third term.
And this happened while speaking to reporters on Air Force One. Trump refused to rule out another run in 2028, saying, "I would love to do it." Now, let's not forget, he is constitutionally barred from running for a third term. He also praised his Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, singling them out as future leaders of the Republican Party.
We have J.D., obviously. The Vice President is great. I think Marco is great. I think I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me.
It isn't just Donald Trump talking about the 2028 race.
Over the weekend, California Governor Gavin Newsom, one of Donald Trump's fiercest critics, said he is thinking about a run for the White House in 3 years. And the Democratic nominee from 2024, Kamala Harris, remember her? Well, she says she has not made up her mind yet either about another run. Have a listen.
I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028 and who meets that moment. And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying, and I can't do that.
When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you? Possibly. Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
From Trump's Asia tour to the shutdown to a 2028 preview, the ideal person to guide us through all of this is, of course, CNN Politics senior reporter Stephen Collinson. So, Stephen, I want to start with Donald Trump's comments about a potential third term. One of the things that he said aboard Air Force One was this idea of, you know what, I'm not gonna try to circumvent the U.S. Constitution by being vice president and then, I guess, switching in a sort of Putin-Medvedev scenario. He said that would be too cute. But interesting enough, he didn't actually rule out a third term entirely. He's not too cute for that, but too cute to kind of sort of trick the American people by pretending to be vice president.
Yeah, it's never too early to start thinking about the US presidential election. I think to some extent what Trump is doing here is trolling us all because he knows that we're going to want to talk about this. If he came out now and said, look, I'm definitely not running in 2028, that would not only make him an immediate lame duck and lessen his power, which he's piling up every single day, it would also unleash endless speculation about a matchup between Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance, which would take a lot of the oxygen away. Having said that, this is Donald Trump. He tried to stay in office in 2020 after losing an election. So I don't think we can necessarily rule anything out. It is early to think about Trump. You know, he's 79 years old. What would the economy look like, for example, in 2 years if he did try and pull off an unconstitutional run for the presidency? Lots of unknown questions, but Trump answers these questions because he knows we're all going to be very interested in the answer.
Well, he would be, I think, if not the oldest president, I think he's already the oldest president elected into office. But if he ran for a third unconstitutionally allowed term, he would definitely be into his 80s. We saw him showing off some of his vigor there with some dance moves when he landed.
She was actually doing it in the commercial break for me.
Yes, I was reenacting the signature Trump moves. There you go. I won't do it again.
On camera, Vianna.
Won't do it again for our viewers. But Stephen, here we are a year out from the midterms. And where do Republicans stand, and what are some of their concerns in terms of hoping to maintain the majority? Because we are now looking into perhaps the longest government shutdown on record. There's no end in sight here. We're already in the second longest government shutdown. We're starting to see inflation once again creep up. Tariffs continue to be a major issue. Case in point, you know, these discussions with China this week and President Xi, there are a number, and then healthcare costs too. There are a number of factors that perhaps could be going in the Democrats' favor if Republicans don't course correct soon enough. How worried are Republicans right now?
Well, I think you can tell how worried they are because they've launched this attempt to gerrymander or draw new congressional districts in a bunch of states to try to get more Republican seats that are available to be won. You saw that started in Texas. It's moved to North Carolina. There's some talk about them doing it in Missouri. And Democrats are responding by doing the same thing in California under California Governor Gavin Newsom, who you featured there, who is effectively already running for president. He's using this redistricting effort to try and emerge as the biggest opponent to Trump. So yes, they're definitely worried. Add to that these economic storm clouds and the fact that presidents' parties usually take a beating in the midterm elections after they're first elected. And Trump's approval ratings, although he said they're the best ever, they're where they always are, which is about 42% in most polls. That is not good historically for parties heading into the midterm elections. So yes, I think they're worried. That said, the Democrats in this government shutdown haven't really, I think, although they've elevated the history of healthcare, it's not clear that they're going to emerge from this shutdown with a win. And I think there's a big question about whether the Democrats in Congress have a smart enough and penetrative enough message in the midterm elections to get to where they need to be to get that big win. And of course, they'd use control of the House. It's very unlikely they're going to win the Senate. They'd use control of the House to really increase scrutiny and investigations on Trump in the last 2 years of his term.
And finally, just in terms of Kamala Harris effectively not ruling out running again, I mean, how is that likely to turn out for her, Stephen? I mean, based on what I know of the American electorate, they don't really love to give second chances unless your name is Donald J. Trump. Once you lose once, the American electorate sort of appears to sort of give up on you. You don't, I mean, it doesn't, they don't usually give second chances. So what would be the point for her to run again?
Yeah, and I think the question with Kamala Harris is, has she fixed the problems that hurt her presidential campaign the last time around? She didn't really have any good answers on the key questions of what she was going to do about the economy, how she was going to make groceries and rent more affordable. If Democrats went with her, they would be dredging up the whole legacy of the Biden presidency, the fact that the president ran again for a second term at the same time, which would end when he was 86. She's going to have to answer questions about her role in that and whether she was an effective campaigner. I think the problem for Kamala Harris is going to be when she goes to meet the donors, perhaps after the midterm elections next year, is there going to be enthusiasm in the Democratic base and the donor class, especially for a second campaign when the first one didn't exactly win rave reviews, and there's going to be a whole bunch of new candidates, including Gavin Newsom, who are effectively almost running already, and it's not going to be easy for her to win that Democratic nomination.
Right, Stephen Collinson, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen.